Hi, and welcome to the Leader's Edge, how to sharpen your competitive advantage and make a positive impact as a leader in your organization and the community. I'm Emily Chiwa, and with me is Georgia
Good
Donaldson.
morning. Hi.
Morning, Georgia. Hi. And we, by now, are leadership coaches and hosts of this show. And today we are using this time for the both of us to share with you as coaches on the grow model. Georgia, as coaches, sometimes well, I know you and I, we both love this stuff. So talking about it is an easy thing for us. We can talk about it, all right?
Yeah, do we have enough time this morning?
You understand? So I want for you all to share in our excitement about coaching and how using this methodology or this kind of modality can help you not just for yourself but for others as well. And it's as we continue to say from before when we had the last one, it's different, right? So first remember, the first principle is you're holding your client as whole, capable, resourceful, and creative. So that's
Yes.
remember from the first time we spoke on coaching.
Yes, yes. Emily, and I think it's so valuable that you need to say it again and slowly so they get it.
Yes. So we're holding our clients, which is whomever you are coaching, as
Mm-hmm.
whole,
Mm-hmm.
capable, creative, and resourceful.
Right.
Sometimes when we're coaching people, especially in an internal situation, Georgia, or even externally sometimes because, we may know more about the topic than another person or,
Yes.
may have had more experience. Sometimes we get into this space of telling and um, wanting to, because we want good intentions for others.
Of
We may,
course.
we, we may put our spin, too much of our spin onto that conversation. So when you are doing a coaching conversation, remember you are helping the other to
Right.
direct themselves. And your role is to facilitate that. Yeah,
Right. Yes. Yes. And
yeah.
and and Emily, as coaches, sometimes it's one of the hardest thing to do, not to tell and not to make all the recommendations in the world. Yes, because
Uh,
it's in your head. Oh, if only they would do so and so.
correct,
Yeah,
correct,
but
correct.
we're
You know what?
facilitating.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And I find too, when you are removed from a situation, so
Mm-hmm.
because you're independent and not in it,
Yes,
sometimes possibilities and options are just so much more available to your
that,
mind because
that's so
the
true.
person
Yes.
who's in it,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they're closed off or limited by
Yes.
certain things that and again with coaching it's really to help them work through or
Mm-hmm.
realize some of these limits,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yes.
that they
Yes.
can they can say,
Yes.
oh yes, okay, well I now see why
Yes.
why I haven't been taking this action or why I haven't
Mm-hmm.
been able to do X or Y, even though I've committed
Mm-hmm.
to it. I really didn't commit because these things were in the way and I
Yes.
didn't have to acknowledge them. So this
Right.
this is a good segue into grow because grow we thought was an easy model that people could adopt and use to
Mm-hmm.
both coach themselves and others.
Right.
So whether you are leading a team or just being a good friend, you can
Mm-hmm.
actually decide
That is so
to use
true. That
this
is so
coaching
true.
model exactly and
Yes.
have a different kind of conversation, elevate
Yeah.
your conversation in some ways when you are providing support to
Mm-hmm.
others. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I was
earlier
just
when
thinking, I was
sorry.
just thinking, Emily, that after
Uh,
this show, we may make ourselves redundant because if we do such a good job of teaching them how to use the growth methodology, they may not want to use us.
that's all right.
That's fine. That is fine.
That is all
Oh,
right.
no.
I feel like, sometimes, well, it's like coaches need coaching, right? So
Yes.
even though we know this and I know this and you know this, I don't know that I always do all of these things when I'm going through a
That's true.
situation. So sometimes just having a good person to speak with. So yes,
Yeah.
if they get good
Mhm.
at it,
Yeah. More power to them. More
more
power to
power
them.
to them.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Good.
Exactly. So I wanted us to start, Georgia, to
Mhm.
remind people that this model actually originated since the 70s from this gentleman called Tim Galvey.
Okay. Way
Uh-huh.
back.
Way back, imagine that,
Mhm.
70s. I don't think
We
we
weren't born yet, Emily. We weren't born yet.
we were talking about coaching, and definitely yes, true, true. That is a long time, and He was a graduate from Harvard on a sabbatical as a tennis coach. And what he
Okay.
noticed is that his students would do better at teaching themselves more than by learning from the instructor.
Mm-hmm.
And then this work was taken up by another coaching, and this is again in sports. So this gentleman called Sir John Whitmore.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to develop these techniques in both a ski and a tennis school. And
Right.
eventually, companies started asking Whitmore to have a tennis coaching day, like incorporate this into their management training program.
Okay.
Help managers embrace the principles of self-directed learning.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think what's important with Grow and what we just said, it's self-directed. We are
Mm-hmm.
wanting people to learn more and choose what they want to do for
Yes.
themselves.
That for themselves. That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
Because they know best. They know their situation best. Yeah.
correct. Correct.
And if they really dig deep in that resourcefulness that's within them, they will find it. They'll find the answers. And that's what we're there to do, to facilitate that conversation, give them that space, acknowledge how wholesome they are, and let them tap into that creativity that they have. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And the GROW methodology will work well.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So we're
So
going to get into what GROW is now.
exactly,
Good.
exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the goal, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the goal, Georgia. So what do um what is a person who is, in that conversation, what do they actually want to achieve in that
Right.
session, in the short or long term? I think that G is for goal. So it's
Yeah.
goal setting. So that is the framework. We first must start with what we're
Mm-hmm.
starting to talk about because we're having a directed conversation. We
Yes.
want to know what the goal is of this conversation. What is it that we
Yes.
want to achieve by the end of this conversation, and what is it
Right.
that the person wants to achieve, so that we can have that discussion centered
Mm-hmm.
around something specific.
Right. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
And we can extend it too. So, okay, outside of this conversation, if we're having coaching over 6 weeks, 6 months, at the end of the period, what do you really want to accomplish? So it's the grow, it's a goal at the beginning, what we want to talk about now, but it can also be at the end of this interaction, what do you want to accomplish? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then after
Absolutely.
we've done that now, Emily, we need to look at the R. So what
Mm-hmm.
is it? What is the reality that you're faced with right
Yes.
now in this situation, in this conversation, and based on the goals that you set for yourself? What are the circumstances and the situation around you? Understand your own situation and your reality, your current situation, and how is it impacting the goal that you have for yourself? And
Correct.
then give them that space now to write it down, to speak about it. Sometimes I find that when they write it down, it becomes even realer to them. Oh, I never even thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
So
So
I
so we're
think it's
talking about the goal and their reality.
reality check. And I think that's a natural thing for us humans, right? We either living
Mhm.
in the past or in the future.
Yes.
So
Yes.
reality checks allows us to check in now. Like right
Mm-hmm.
now, where
Mm-hmm.
am I in relation
Yeah.
to this thing that I say I want to do?
Yes.
What's happening in the space? You
Yes.
know, um, you know, what is really present? And
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes, as I said, because we are bringing things from the past into the present, we
Yes.
are just basically projecting,
Mm-hmm.
and not realizing that this present. It doesn't have anything to do with
Yes.
necessarily with the past, and we can actually influence a different outcome
Mm-hmm.
if we were to
Mm-hmm.
let go of some of those things that occurred. So an experience happened in the past in a similar situation, and instead of
Mm-hmm.
us looking at this as a brand new situation where we can take different actions and maybe have a different result, we sometimes just
Yes.
that old situation back and sort of repeat,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
So this
That's
is a
so
nice
true.
way, the reality check allows us to sort of break some of those cycles. And it's really, as we know, Georgia, all about awareness, right? So this is helping the
Mm-hmm.
person really become aware of what
That's
it,
it.
what is
That's
happening
it.
here with me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. When that light bulb goes off, they never thought about it before. Yeah, great. So, Emily, drum roll. Tell us what's the O.
So options. So now that we know what we want, where we want to go, where we
Yeah.
headed,
Mm-hmm.
where we headed in the short term, the medium term,
Right.
what it is we want to accomplish, and we know what is happening here presently that is impacting us, this goal,
Mm-hmm.
our ability to achieve it, etc.
Yeah.
We need to brainstorm. So, what are the options? What are the
Mm-hmm.
things that we, what are some of the strategies or the things that we would like to do or we could think of doing that would help us to get closer to this goal or even achieve
Right.
it?
Yes.
So this brainstorming is not necessarily all the things we will commit to be doing. It's
Of
really just
course not.
thinking possibilities because a lot of times we tend again to be very locked in to
Yes.
like
So narrow.
this way, one way,
Mm-hmm.
or there's only
Yeah,
one
that's
way
true.
is to do something, and we forget that in fact
Mm-hmm.
there are
Mm-hmm.
countless possibilities, right?
Yes. Yes.
Anyways, yeah,
That is so true.
yeah.
And sometimes until someone says to you, have you ever thought of? And when they finish that sentence, oh my goodness, you know, I never thought of that. Or the last time I thought of that was 10 years ago and it never came back to my thoughts. Okay, this is something I could look at.
Correct.
And that really helps. It makes a difference.
Yeah.
And then
And
after you've done that, you say to yourself, okay, what's next?
what's next? And what's
Yeah.
next is W, right? The
Yes. Yeah.
W of the grow. So we did GRO and now W. And W
Hmm.
is for me will,
The
right?
will.
What you
Hmm.
actually do. And I say will because it's more like a commitment
Right.
action. So you might so okay, you had all these options, you had this
Hmm.
lovely conversation, and now what are you going to do about it?
Yes.
What is the thing or the one thing that you feel? And break it down to the
Hmm.
simplest step, right? Because sometimes we
Right.
make these big assertions about what we'll do and then we realize,
Hmm.
oh my God, I don't know if I could do that because you know what, we didn't break it down to the simplest first step.
Right. That's true. That is true.
First step. So
Yeah.
what will you do? What is the first step? What will get in the way of
Hmm.
you doing it so that you could really be sure that you're committing to
Right.
this action.
So
Yeah.
it's almost like the way forward. So that W, the will, and the way forward.
Forward. Correct.
Yes. Yeah. What are you willing to do? Where do you see yourself and how are you going to do it? What are you going to do and when are you going to do it? Because it's easy for you to say, okay, I'm going to do A, B, or C. And if you don't set time limits, next week you'll come back and say, oh, I'm going to do A, B, and C, and you've not moved from where you were last week. Yeah. So it's so important to set those timelines as well.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Timelines. Yeah. To really concretize it. So timelines, what
Hmm.
will you do when, where, with whom,
Yes.
if you need
With
other
whom?
people. Yeah.
Yes.
So think
Yeah.
think it through when you're
Hmm.
deciding on that will, like is it something I can really achieve anytime in the time
Yeah.
that I'm setting out for?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's
Yeah.
not something you can achieve, then break it down to an even simpler step. So if you need somebody to do it with, then maybe
Yes.
the first step is to reach out to
Yes.
people.
Of course, of course.
So
You know what I was thinking to Emily to bring it home and to make it as practical as possible. I was thinking now of a coaching client who may be Angela. And Angela's goal is to move from the position she's in to a higher position in 3 months. And Angela's reality is there is no position in her current organization. So, what are the options? Are you going to be looking outside? Are you going to be creating something where you are? Are you going to be doing something on your own? Those are options that she can look at. And what is she going to do? What is she willing to do? And what is the way forward? First and foremost, have you looked at your resume in the last year? Have you updated your LinkedIn profile? Have you been going to any networking opportunities? You know, I would break it down as practical as that. So
yeah,
that's Angela. And if we were to use the grow methodology with Angela, we'll walk her through those steps.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great example. Very easy and practical. And I
Yes.
think, I think, when our audience is listening to that, they could see how easily you can help someone have that conversation. And
Yes.
again, it's a conversation that has a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It allows the person to come out with some tangible things that
Yeah.
they at the end to help move
Yes.
forward. Because coaching is about moving us forward,
Right.
achieve the goals we want to achieve in this life, whatever
Yes. Yeah.
it is we say we want.
Taking you from
So
one place to another. And
take
after that conversation, Angela made me realize that, grounded in her reality, 3 months is not reasonable.
yeah,
Six months would be a
I
more
thought that in
reasonable
the
time
first
frame.
I
Yeah.
thought that when you first brought the example,
Yeah.
3 months
Yeah.
is short. But you know what? It's a start because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, she may realize at 6 months. But you know what? If she hadn't started taking the steps, it
That's
may
it.
be a lot. Sometimes our goals are not always not everything. Obviously, is in our control. She
Right.
doesn't know which job opportunities may come up
That's
or
it.
might meet and whatnot. But if you didn't put yourself out there, you didn't start with the actions that some
That's
of the
it.
you suggested in your example, Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
then she would never know. So that three
You would
months could
never
turn
know.
into a year and you would have taken zero actions, but you just
That's
have
it.
this desire. So this desire now is
Yes.
Angela miserable because she's like, oh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
still in this job and I really
Mm-hmm.
want to. But what is she doing? What
Right.
action has she taken? How has she positioned her mind to allow herself to move,
Right.
to find the space to locate what might be the best
Yes.
next option for her.
Yes, yes, yes. So we're saying to those of you out there who may be watching us right now this morning at 7:15, 7:16, or you're going to be catching us on the rerun. Are you Angela? Are you Andrew? You have a goal in mind, but you're not sure what your current reality is, and you need to go through and see what it is and be grounded in your own reality. And then walk through the options that you have. If I were to do A, B, or C, what would happen? And then, am I willing to take those steps? Yes, Emily.
Yes, love it. And what I would want to encourage you to do, so a call to action for you today,
Mm-hmm.
audience, is really practice this with yourself first. So, I mean, if you are wanting to have these kind of conversations with others, I would say, do as Georgia just suggested. We gave you the outline.
Mm-hmm.
Practice asking yourself these questions. You could even journal your answers if you're a person who journals.
Yes, great
Sometimes,
idea.
as Georgia said, write in Georgia, right?
Yes.
You get
Oh,
so
yeah.
much
It
information
becomes
from somebody
realer.
else. Yes, it becomes both real, but I feel like it allows us to express what may not be, what we may not verbalize. So when we
Yes, that's
write,
true.
it just flows sometimes, and getting into that habit allows that awareness building to happen. Maybe
Right.
some great ideas might pop out on
Yeah.
your paper or your iPad or wherever you write it.
Yes. The genius comes out.
Ideas can come out. So practice with yourself using this model, and then if you lead teams, as I said, or having conversations with friends or loved ones that you want to talk
Mm-hmm.
to, maybe when they come to you with a challenge and they have something they want to achieve, why not ask them if they would be willing to do this conversation with you,
Mm-hmm.
and you take them through some of these steps and see what is
Right.
possible.
Yeah. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Will you be my coach, Emily?
Absolutely, anytime.
Oh,
And
God.
vice versa, Georgia.
Yes.
We need each other.
Wonderful. So another good one, Emily. So we're hoping now that our audience, they're getting some gem and some nuggets from this, and they
Yes,
can always reach us through our various socials. Hit us
absolutely.
up on LinkedIn. You're on Instagram, Emily. I was
Yes.
joking this weekend. Somebody asked me my Instagram handle, and I'm like,
I am there. I mean, I'm not very, very present on social, I mean, these days, but I am there. You can reach me
okay,
through my profiles. You get my contact information, and I also have a website. So,
yes,
people can reach me all different ways. So, Georgia, it's always a pleasure for us to have this conversation.
same
I'm really
here.
hoping that this encourages people to take
Yes,
on this coaching mindset and to coach themselves and others. And yeah, to come to coaches when you
yes,
feel like it's a bigger challenge that you want some
right.
expert help with. Yep.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Great.
All right. So
See you
have a
again
good one,
soon.
everyone. Yes.
Take
Have
care.
a
Have a
good
great
one.
week. Bye
Yes.
bye.
Bye.